And we welcome you to a live edition of Believe in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. This program is brought to you by FanDuel, and we are so happy to have FanDuel by our side. And Carl, the final 53, we're going to take some of your comments. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Like it if you're listening to it. We are live on this first 53 Tuesday. And put some comments in there and we'll react to it. But anything surprise you with the Giants so far today?
Well, I can't say I'm surprised, but I can kind of rationalize with some disappointment, right? Guy Kevin Sullivan just tweeted me on X about 20 minutes ago, and he says, "What do you say to your the players getting cut that were your friends and your teammates on the roster?" And so there are a few things that happen, Kevin. So in the NFL, the game is really the thing that tells the truth. A lot of players know that they're not up to speed or they're just not good enough just based on what they see around them and the type of plays that they can or cannot make. So you kind of look at certain guys that were cut and you say, okay, you understand that. But then you say to that guy, you wish him well. And then there are some guys where you look at them and you know what they've been doing through OTAs and then even in the preseason, and it's kind of a head scratcher, but you kind of have to just say, okay, I get why. Dante Turbo Miller, his issue was not performance, it was math. And the math is Motor Singletary has guarantees. Now, I got nothing but love for Devin Singletary, but, they have him under contract with guarantees. And not that Devin can't play anymore or didn't do enough to make the team. It's just that they highlighted Miller so much, and Miller was part of their development last year, and he kind of broke out in training camp, and he looked great, which, you don't shed a tear for him because he's going to be on the roster. But boy, as a teammate, you look and you'd be like, man, I sure hate this guy got cut because he was so good. He had such a great camp. But, I mean, that's just the way it shakes out when you have NFL math that kind of takes over, and then it becomes apples and oranges. It's no longer apples and apples, right? Because apples and apples is you put the two performances next to each other. But apples and oranges means that the math is a little different that will prevent you from losing a guy. Now, they're keeping a guy in Singletary who can play. So it's not like they kept a bum on the roster, but, you just love to see Turbo and would have loved to seen him remain a New York Giant. I don't know if he's going to clear waivers or not, but that's kind of the life it is in the NFL this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they were never going to keep four quarterbacks. That's a luxury that you just can't afford. And,
Right.
They were trying to see if they could swing a trade with one of the two quarterbacks, whether it was Devito or Jameis, although they were steadfast that Jameis was going to be on the team. If they would have gotten blown away, they hated to lose Tommy. They hated to have to part ways with Elijah Chapman. They hated to have to part ways with Jake Kubas, but it becomes a numbers game, right? Josh Azudu, when playing at guard throughout this preseason in the games and in the joint practices and everything, really showed that he can be an NFL guard. Evan
And
Neal.
progress.
Right, and and he wound up getting put on IR, designated to return. But Evan Neal made the situation tough for Jay Kubas because Evan Neal stepped
Yeah.
in and did good enough at guard that you say, hey, he's a first-round draft pick. We can get something out of this as far as a return, as far as play is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So Jay Kubas became a victim of the numbers game, right? Look, Greg Dulcich, he had an outstanding preseason. He had a really good second end of the camp. But, he's 4 years in the league. There's a resume on him. Fidoni's a guy that they drafted. As Dable told us in our production meetings, they just love Chris Manhertz for everything that he brings to the table. And this coaching staff is big fans of Daniel Bellinger and his role. You weren't going to be able to keep all of them. Dulcich finds his way out on the street. Good player. The fact that the Giants, for the first time in a while, got rid of players that normally would be shoo-ins to make the roster means that what they're doing in their player evaluation is getting better.
Yeah, I mean, listen, last year, again, they were trying to see which guy they wanted to keep instead of cut because, or what average guy who's going to fill out the back of the roster. Now they've got, such an upgrade in talent that you're seeing talented players go, and there's no questioning whether or not the guy that remained on the roster could play. And that's a beautiful thing. If you're a Giant fan, that means that, your talent base is getting better because, nobody can dispute Turbo Miller and what he brought to the table. But there was, again, the Singletary math and the guy named Cam Scatterboo just made it tougher, right? But, again, a guy like him, a guy like Dulcich, a guy like Tommy DeVito, you don't have to worry about them being employed. They have a skill set that will allow them to get with another team. Dulcich, and listen, you can give a lot of credit to Coach Dable for basically highlighting these young men to allow them to put their skills on display. So they got a lot of tape. I mean, a lot of footage that's going to be out there, and that's their resume, and that resume looks pretty good. Their time in camp with the Giants.
All right, Jonathan Christ wants to know what position or player do you see the Giants looking at in the waiver claim tomorrow? Well, as I look at this roster composition, Carl, I got to think that they'll be looking at some of these safeties. I'm not sure if Corey Black, Art Green, and Nick Jones are all going to be on the 53 when the Giants take the field in Washington. There's a bunch of corners, veteran corners that are out there that could be signed. There's some intriguing prospects on the waiver board. So I could see that's a position, whether it's safety or corner for a veteran, that the Giants could be looking at. They kept Chris Board and Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. Fowles injured a lot. He's a guy that's been in the league for 5 years with the 49ers. He started 7 of 73 games. Really didn't see much of him on defense, but he's a special teams ace. I doubt they're going to keep both guys that are
Board
based
is
on
pretty
just
good
special teams
player too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think that one of those two guys could wind up not being on this roster when they take on Washington. And I think the wide receiver position, there's some intriguing prospects out there at the wide receiver position. Now, the one thing that you have to remember is if you bring in a wide receiver, does the wide receiver play any specials? Because Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton, and obviously Malik Neighbors give you nothing on special teams. Robinson could be used as a returner, but you don't want to have 4 guys at wide receiver that don't do anything on special teams. So those are things that I think are balanced. But I think they're going to be zeroing in at corner and safety first and foremost, either in the waivers or the free agent signings.
Yeah, I agree. And, I don't think they're settled. Well, listen, they can add more on the defense because you just went corner safety. Not sure what they have at linebacker. I guess Moorsau is going to be, the guy that they continue to develop. And then, finding another big body, in for the rotation of their defensive line on regular downs is probably in the cards somewhere, even though they've got great production from Alexander. That helps. So, we'll see if there's someone else out there. But I think cornerback, you could be right, is probably a higher priority at this point, given the inconsistency of cornerback 2. Now, Cordell Flott stepped up. Banks has been inconsistent. They just fired. They just cut Trey Hawkins, who had, in my opinion, maybe one good week of camp before he got hurt. I think it was the first week of camp where I noticed he was, in all off season, he was really locked in. He had 1 week of camp, and that was it. And he was hurt the rest of camp. And when there's a live competition going at the position that you need a spot on, you probably should have tried to figure out, if you were healthy enough, how to get back out there and compete, because, both Banks and Cordell Flott had their moments to shine. He never got on the football field in the preseason game, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, availability is very important, especially when you're battling for a job. Keith Stith wants to know if we're comfortable with the Giants' inside linebacker depth. It's kind of what I referred to earlier, Keith. Board is really purely a special teams guy.
Yeah.
And then the other inside backer who I mentioned has spent the last 5 years with the 49ers, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, is a good special teams player as well. Now, he has played some at linebacker in the NFL, but I would think that if there's a waiver claim to be had or an upgrade, that, again, I wouldn't be buying if I was those guys. I'd probably be renting, because I'm not sure that they're going to wind up carrying both of those guys because of, the level of ability to play the inside backer. They may look for someone who plays specials but plays a better level of backer. That's why Gunnar Olszewski, Carl, made the team. Listen, I love Amir Smith-Marset. Jersey kid, did a lot of good things last year, but as we saw in the preseason, Gunnar's just a better wide receiver. You may say Smith-Marset is a better kickoff return guy, and Gunnar's really good on punt returns, but with the way the kickoff return is now, it's kind of like more of a punt return than it is the old style kickoff return. And I think that's what caused D. Williams a roster spot too. He was just, whatever he gave you in the return game, I think he was just not up to snuff as far as playing corner in the National Football League. So Gunnar wins this job. I would think one of those two guys, if they clear waivers and don't get signed elsewhere, are going to wind up back on the practice squad, because Gunnar has had a history of injury. So if you have a guy in the practice squad that can then step in and fill that role, you're better off for it.
So, Bobby, I am traveling, so I don't have all of the resources available to me, but is Andrew Thomas on a pup or something?
No, but he is on the active roster.
He's not even on the depth chart.
He is on the active roster for the Giants, right? Because
but I'm looking at the depth chart here, which obviously is not official, but it's the updated depth chart. It's got Hudson, Josh Azudu, and Marcus Bowe. Right tackle.
Where are you looking?
Marcus Bowe on the Giants site.
I wouldn't. That's definitely not updated.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made Azudu was the only one that got put on IR, designated to return, and the two players that got put on the PUP are Victor Jimjuke, who's been injured the entire time, and then Eric Gray, who had that injury. So right now, those are the two guys on reserve, physically unable to perform. But no, Andrew Thomas is on the full 53.
Okay.
One of our fans here asked about Hunter Renfrow. I think that was Richie M. Really depends on health reports for that player. And again, what do you think you could get on special teams? I'm not sure if it's worth putting a claim on him. I think there's some other guys out there that might be a little bit more intriguing. But again, we're not in the personnel department. We're going to find out tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Chapman could clear waivers because if you, and I know they like him, but he's kind of the specialist, if you will, because he's doesn't give you enough as a defensive lineman, down lineman, to really crack the rotation heavy. But this, blasting cap they're using him as at fullback was pretty cool. I say that because nobody's looking for a 300-pound fullback. They're looking for a defensive tackle. He's undersized. So he'll be probably looked over by a lot of people who don't have the room to develop him as a practice squad player. So he could easily be back on the Giants. Could see him back on the roster, the developmental roster.
Absolutely, he's a developmental player. His position coach loved him. He was a great story last year. Him playing fullback this year. And I would be shocked if Elijah Chapman, if he clears waivers, isn't back on the Giants practice squad. I think he liked it there. He knows that they like him. So I think it's a situation where, and again, William Fay said he was a wrecking ball at fullback. The problem is you have a numbers game here, right? And they really liked what DJ Davidson has done in the spring throughout camp. He brings you that big size. And listen, at the end of the day, you wound up keeping extra tight end. You wound up keeping 4 instead of 3. So one of those guys gets allocated to that hybrid role of tight end and fullback. So you're not going to keep a tight end who also plays fullback, like a Manhurts or Bellinger lines up back there.
Yeah.
And a defensive lineman who also moonlights as a fullback.
Yep. Bo Collins, your thoughts?
Again, he's on the final 50. He's on the first 53. It's not the final 53. I think he is susceptible to a waiver claim, being a guy that winds up not on the roster and then signed back to the practice squad. I know they like him.
He made a lot of plays.
Yeah, made a lot of plays, but he also didn't consistently catch the ball, as we saw in the last preseason game. They like him. They also like Juice Wells. I think they're going to bring Juice Wells back on the practice squad if they can. Richie M. Richie, I'm not really sure what Richie M is saying. I'm a little surprised that Neal made the team. Thought after the low light reel from Thursday night, they'd cut ties. I thought that was sloppy TV. I'm going to be honest with you. They showed a little package there where Evan Neal got beat. And even when he got beat on that lateral movement, he didn't get beat.
Engaged.
He's still engaged with his guy. It wasn't like a free run in. And I thought Kirk Herbstreit in that little production package, I think they were a little unfair because you and I saw all the preseason games. We did the first 2 telecasts, and we put together some nice packages of Evan Neal, picking up stunts, moving his feet. Is he a starter right now in the NFL? No, but don't just go off that little package that Amazon did the other night. I thought it was a little bit of a cheap shot toward Evan Neal.
Well, here's the thing. So they want to put 4 plays up, and he played probably 25 plays that game. So that's 21 good plays he had. Not to mention all the other good plays that he had in the previous 2 preseason games and in practice. So, listen, they're not going to cut ties with him because he's got enough ability and he's working hard enough to remain on the roster. He's not going to be cut, put it that way. If, who knows what the future holds, but I don't think he's going to be cut. Nor should he be.
No, I mean, listen, he's a first-round pick. You're going to listen. A first-round pick is going to be given every opportunity to fail. They did not pick up the 5th-year option, so what he has to do now is go out there and perform this year and give himself an opportunity. But the upside of him developing into a decent guard outweighs giving up on him.
Exactly.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here as we move down the road with some of these moves that they make as far as guys that they wind up claiming here down the road. But I find it pretty interesting that, I think this team is trending in the right direction. I'm not going too crazy about all the points that they scored in the preseason because there's been many of an example of teams. I think when the Lions went winless that one year, they went 4-0 in the preseason. So I don't want to put too much into it, but I think the one thing that I think if you watch, I think the positive here, Carl, is that things look much more fluid.
Yeah, it does. It looks like it functions well. It doesn't look like it's bogged down. And I think all of the things that Coach Dable is doing with Jackson Dart in terms of putting him in situations where he's got to, course manage, crisis manage, real world situations where, throw him in for one play, then you come back and you cut his headphones off and see if he knows how to put the team in a position to make to get a playoff. And he does that. Obviously, Russell's seen it all, but I mean, that's kind of the type of team he's developing now. He doesn't want it to be so burdensome on the process of calling a game, of coaching a game, and playing a game for his players. So he's got competent play at quarterback. Anybody that has been around Brian Dable in any of his coaching stops as an offensive coach, he loves throwing the ball down the field. So what you saw was, in my opinion now, again, it was all vanilla. And the other team had something to do with it too. They were playing ones-on-ones when the ones were in. But what it tells you is it's similar to what you saw in the Indianapolis Colts game. He wants to drive the ball down the field. He wants to get the ball in the hands of playmakers on timing so as they can catch and run. Great spacing. He wants to be able to get his guys out in space so that they can take advantage of some matchups. So we don't know what it's going to look like in the regular season, but I can tell you what you saw is what he wants to do.
That leads right into this question from New York Giants Straight Talk, online Big Blue. Concerned about the wide receiver room, a little light after the top 3. I really think via free agency or through the waiver wire, I think they're going to look to upgrade this room right now. Jalen Hyatt has been wildly inconsistent. Mm-hmm. He had a lot of opportunities in that game on Thursday night. I know he wound up catching the touchdown ball. Although Russell Wilson has kind of taken him under his wing as his pet project, and he really didn't play much with Russell Wilson. But he's going to have to show out early, I think, for this
Yeah.
team to continue to have confidence. And Slayton needs to have more of an impact. And Wan'Dale Robinson can't average 7 yards a catch.
Yeah. So you just highlighted everything that supports them continuing to look to upgrade the position after Malik Neighbors. When you talk about Russell being positive with Jalen Hyatt, he probably said to Jalen, don't worry about the 2 you dropped. You caught 3 and you dropped 2. And in other situations, and Hyatt knows it too, those 2 he dropped were big and catchable, big plays and catchable. And he knows he's got to come down with those. He redeemed himself a bit with a touchdown, but, there were 2 other big plays left on the field there. So consistency is where he needs to get right
now. Kevin Meehan wants to know what you thought of linebacker Trace Ford, number 46. He got cut. But, Carl, the one thing about Trace Ford, in the games he showed up.
Tackled well, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're out there at practice. We're watching it. I'm not really sure I'm educated enough to really understand as I'm watching practice what's right and what's wrong. But all I know is in the games he made tackles.
Yeah, Trace Ford made tackles, and there's the other one, TJ?
Oh, TJ Moore, who got hurt?
No, not TJ Moore. Cloyd. Is it Cloyd?
Oh, KJ Cloyd, yeah.
KJ Cloyd had a good game in the last preseason game, too. Both of those guys were moving around pretty good and tackling well. So, I don't know if Ford could clear waivers. I think they put him on the practice squad. I think they need to continue to develop the second level behind Micah and Bobby.
This is a good question from I think it's SF Sperry. If the Giants are looking for linebacker safety, Carl, what characteristics are they looking for in those 2 position groups? Like, what do you think fits into this defense? Because, I mean, Micah Parsons and Bobby Okereke, when you think of 3-4, and I think of Carl Banks' Giants championship teams and 3-4, and I think the inside backers were beasts. These guys are much smaller, lighter, little different style.
Bob, it's not my coach's 3-4, and it's a hybrid. They move like 4-3 linebackers. They are run, scrape, hit, run and hit, side to side, and then up. That's the way this scheme is set to have guys like Dexter, Roy Robinson, Harris, and Alexander keep those bodies off of the linebacker so that they can have clear reads and be able to run in and make a play. My bigger concern is even if you're playing with small linebackers, you got to have enough lead in your pencil to be able to blunt a block and get off of it to make a play, because I've seen it with this defense, not just this year, because not as much, but they get caught on a block and they go for a 15-yard ride, and that can't happen. So in the event that your defensive lineman couldn't hold a double team off of you and it got to the second level, number one, you got to read it, and number 2, you got to get your ass up at the line of scrimmage so you don't get washed and just build the wall. But, all these clean reads for linebackers, they get spoiled. And they've got to be able to, you're athletic, you're a run and hit guys. I know Micah has great instincts and so does Bobby, but I'm going to need you to use those instincts to be able to see a double team come off of Dexter Lawrence and head towards you, and you meet it at the line of scrimmage so that you don't get taken for a 15-yard ride. So I've seen those on occasions. In the type of linebacker, he's going to be small, he's going to be quick. But again, I need a linebacker who can go up in there and, pack a punch. Can be a smaller guy, but you better carry a big stick when it comes to, taking on blocks and being very smart about that.
Richie M wants to know from you, Carl, is getting off blocks coaching or will and determination or both?
It's both. It's definitely coaching because it all comes down to the scheme, right? If you are a fast read second level player, then you don't worry about the guys up front, and the guys up front get yelled at if someone gets to the second level, right? There are other teams where you're going to be a fast flowing linebacker team, but you also got to read, how blocking schemes go. So it's all teaching in whatever they're requiring in the scheme. At the end of the day, it still comes down to football. Beat the guy that's blocking you, make the play. But it is a coaching thing.
So let's see. Jonathan Christ wants to know. I think it was Jonathan Christ. Let's see. What player are you excited for to watch, whether it's a rookie or a vet? Well, I mean, you'd be out of your mind to not say Abdul Carter.
Right.
But are there any other guys that kind of jump to your mind that you're looking forward to seeing either take another step, take a jump, or what?
I'm going to say the rookie Cam Scatterboot. I want to see how he factors into this offense, as a change of pace, makes the game more physical, but he can play in space. So I am looking forward to seeing how he is deployed.
I'm excited about Theo Johnson. I want to see Theo. There was a lot of promise and a lot of good feelings about Theo Johnson.
But is he healthy?
Hurt. Yeah, he's healthy. Okay. He's healthy. I want to see him kind of take his game to that next level. And I think with this quarterback, he will. I think I know this sounds crazy coming off an unbelievable season that he had, but I want to see Malik Neighbors with Russell Wilson and see how good Malik Neighbors really, not really is, I'm questioning it, but think about Odell Beckham.
It just doesn't look as hard for him to make great plays.
Correct.
Where the offense runs smoothly.
Think about Odell Beckham Jr. and the advantage he had when he came to the Giants. He had a 2-time Super Bowl MVP who was still playing at a ridiculously high level in Eli Manning when Odell got drafted. And Odell put up numbers those first couple of years that are record-setting. I mean, what he did his rookie year was off the charts.
Yeah. So here's a case in point. The Dallas game in MetLife. Malik Neighbors runs a double move. I think it's on Diggs. And he's running wide open, and he could almost fair catch the pass. It was underthrown and high, where with Russell Wilson, there's a pre-snap read and there's a post-snap read. And that ball's going to be out of his hands because he's sure that Malik has beaten his guy and the ball's going to be there for him to walk in for a touchdown. Whereas, with that play with Daniel Jones, the ball, he just lobbed it up there. It's almost as if he didn't want to overthrow it or make a bad pass. And Malik Neighbors is just waiting for the ball to come down. He catches it. It's a decent chunk of yards, but, with the right decision-making at quarterback or the right quarterback play, that one goes for a touchdown. And that's where, folks, where Bob and I say it shouldn't have to look that hard. The offense got to function, and you've got better quarterback play with a seasoned pro, a Hall of Famer back there.
All right, T. Turner, we kind of addressed this already about Trey Hawkins. It's not that big a surprise because, as we talked about, when you're competing for a job, but you miss so much of camp and you miss preseason games, it's really hard to turn some heads. Dulcich, we talked about. It was a numbers game, plain and simple. Mark B, this is a new question. He wants to know, with Isaiah Simmons getting cut by the Packers, any chance that Malik Neighbors' buddy gets brought back?
Hard pass if you're asking me. Again, it can't be hard, folks. You're functioning as a team that knows what it's doing, has expectations. No disrespect, because I'm a fan of Isaiah, but he needs developing. And he's an older player now. And you got to do certain things in order to put him in position to play, where it should be the exact opposite. His skill set should be able to allow him to do the things that the rookie, Abdul Carter, I'm drawing a blank. I was about to say Michael Parsons, but his skill set should allow him to be able to do the things that Abdul Carter does from day one. Carter walked through the door able to play all over the line of scrimmage because he has that skill set. Isaiah Simmons has the skill set to play at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage, out on an island if you were in a pinch, right? But it never all comes together. So you got to kind of script his success for a particular play, and that makes it hard. And he's a gifted player, but it takes resources, human resources, to get out of him what you need to get out of him, given the state of where this Giant team is. If he were in Philly, they can drop him in wherever. If he goes to Kansas City, Spags will know how to drop him in, right? But this isn't a mature and successful defense. They got things moving the way that they are moving. He's not an asset. And this, again, I'm a fan of his, and this is no disrespect, but the way the Giants are doing things defensively, he's a liability. Because you just can't put him in there, call the play, and watch him go.
Yeah, I agree with you. They're not at that point in their evolution where they can afford that luxury. They need everybody on their P's and Q's and people that are versatile. And as you said, they're not at a position in their evolution where you could just say, okay, we're going to script this very small package.
Right.
And we'll use them in these specific situations.
Here's for the first time and this predates Shane Bowen. You got players that you can put in there, and no matter what the situation is, they're playing. If Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, if they're on the edge and they got to stop the run, they know how to responsibly do that. You drop Abdul Carter on the edge against the Jets, they run a kind of a power G. He stacks the whole thing up. They don't have to worry about the execution of their assignments and playing it fundamentally correctly, right? So if you put Isaiah Simmons in those situations, and it's the wrong situation, meaning you're anticipating pass or you're anticipating a certain type of run where he could do something and it doesn't happen, then he becomes a liability. The guys they have now, they are do-it-all players. And you can see they practice those techniques. Second-team guys are the same way. It's not like, okay, this is my fast guy and I can put him in and this is the only thing he's going to do. But if they change the play, can he hold up?
Yeah, no, they have much more versatile cross-trained guys that they want as part of this defense. So, yeah, I don't really see Simmons. I
wish him well. I think he's going to stay in the league because he's got a great skill set. But this ain't it right here for him.
Want to Hope you're enjoying the show. Brought to you by FanDuel. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, leave comments. Leave comments. We'll react to it. We appreciate you all jumping on here tonight. Carl, do you think Burns, Thibodeau, Carter will be on the field together or more of a rotation?
Nope. I think they're going to have some. There are going to be some situations where all three of those guys are going to be on the field together.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. They'll be on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
And they'll have some fun packages in doing it. Hey, while we have a second, this is non-Giant related.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to get into other stuff from around the league, but I am going to veer off the beaten path for a second. And I know it's only the first 53, but we got to give a little shout out to your former teammate, Howard Cross, whose son, Howard,
yes,
did
H2.
make the first 53 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, they kept 2 undrafted rookie defensive tackles. Obviously, the new DC in Cincinnati was at Notre Dame, so he knows Howard well. I don't know what's going to happen here over the next 24 to 48 hours. But what an incredible accomplishment to at least make the Bengals' first 53.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's incredible. And hats off to him. He's worked hard at it. He's got good genes. So we know he was going to do everything possible to catch the coach's eye, because that's just how his dad was. So that's awesome. I'm so excited for him.
And listen, as far as Devito is concerned, I don't think he's going to wind up on the Giants practice squad. I saw that the Jets cut Brady Cook today. The Jets could be a landing spot for him as far as a waiver claim. Keep your eye on New England. Keep your eye on the Patriots. Remember, when Belichick was still there, I think they actually offered Devito a little bit more money to sign in New England, but he thought the quarterback situation was better, so he went with the Giants, plus being at home. But when you think about with Josh McDaniels back as the offensive coordinator, and the fact that Brian Dable and Josh McDaniel were quality control coaches on Bill Belichick's staff, and Charlie Weiss elevated both of them to the offensive staff for their first position jobs, there's this commonality in some of the concepts offensively, and based on, and New England cut that quarterback that played the other night. He wasn't very good. So I would not be shocked if Tommy DeVito winds up with the Patriots.
Here's what I wish for Tommy DeVito. I wish for Tommy DeVito to have the career that Tyrod Taylor's having. Tyrod's been around for a long time and made a lot of money. I mean, his checks don't come $1 million at a time. They come minimum of $5 million at a time. And, for a kid in, where DeVito entered the NFL, you play 15 years at $5 million, $10 million. You catch a year where they're going to pay you $10 million to be a backup. You just start to stack your paper and you're going to be just fine. And, my goal, if I were him, which I know it is just to, stay in the NFL and be a contributor. He went to grad school in the Brian Dable University for the last couple of years. And so he knows the position. He knows how to operate an offense. And if he, becomes a career backup, and if he's pressed to prepare for a game and go out and execute, we've seen him do that. So I'm happy for him. And, quite frankly, Phil Sims said it's the best thing that could happen for him is to go somewhere else so that he can actually, be a player that can get in the game and just thrive.
Yeah, and I've maintained this. I said this to his agent last year, actually, when we were on the field. I said, I think the Tommy story of being the Jersey kid and manja and cutlets and all that was awesome. And listen, he breathed life into a 2022 season, if you were a Giant fan, that actually made it fun to watch some of those games. When he came in and what he did against Green Bay, and I think he played the game at Washington. Would he have 3 touchdown passes? He had
Yep.
a quarterback rating of like 119 that day, and the Giants won. I think but I think that too many people just view it as like some scripted, the Italian kid, it was a nice story. But when you talk to Phil Simms and when you talk to other evaluators, former players around the league that study it, they're like, look, he's got a great live arm. He has really good anticipation. He's got poise. And it's almost like he needs to go somewhere else to kind of shed
Put all of that on display. Yeah.
The gimmick.
The novelty. It's the novelty. And, it was great. It's a great calling card, right? But, he's gone beyond Saul Goodman. It's all good, man. He's a real quarterback. And so he's shown you can play, but we haven't in New Jersey, some haven't, really looked beyond the novelty of the kid that came in and caught fire and not really evaluated him as a quality backup. Because and I'm traveling, but when I'm occasionally on my feed, I see these people crapping all over him like he can't play the game. Tommy DeVito he's a legitimate backup quarterback. And if you think I'm lying, look at the shit that's getting cut these days. He's a lot better. And look at the shit that's being kept behind starters. He's a lot better than a lot of those, or just as good.
Yeah, I wish him well. And I would keep my eye on New England with him. I wouldn't be shocked if he's on the Patriots. But wherever he goes, I think he's going to thrive, and I think he's going to have a decent career.
And for his sake, this is the time for him to leave the nest. It's because the numbers now, it's 2 more ahead of you and the starter. So you're not the next man up. You're not the next man up either. You're the man next to the man who's next to the man. So you need to go be the next man somewhere else, because that's how your career and that's how your financial status will start to rise beyond, $1.5 million is going to go to $5 million every stop you make, or $10 million. Like I said, if you catch the right year and the right time, because again, you're from the graduate school of Brian Daboll. You've learned his offense. Daboll spent a lot of time with him when they had all those quarterbacks go down, preparing him. He understood the system. He understood how to operate the offense. That's gonna bode well for him wherever he goes.
I'm going to take a couple more here. New York Giants straight talk. Would a Kayvon Thibodeau trade make sense with the drafting of Carter? No, listen. They picked up his 5th-year option immediately. He's on the New York Giants in 2026.
So, folks, trading Kayvon Thibodeau with the construct of this defense, as you've seen it, makes them weaker, and it's an unnecessary subtraction from your defense. You got him. He's on his 5th year. He's a good football player. Why would you say – we play these games as GMs online, but we don't really factor in the consequences of it, because it's not real football when you propose these types of things. Like when you take a minute and say, okay, we should get rid of Thibodeau because we signed Carter, what does that make your team, better or worse? Right? Have you really looked at what he contributes to your team and the depth and rotational depth that you have by having him on your team? So, it sounds great when you put it out there. Just like one of the messengers said they're surprised they kept Evan Neal. Losing Evan Neal, given the construct of this offense, doesn't make you stronger. Just think back a year when you couldn't field a healthy offensive line that played a whole game together. Think about that. Now you got him as a stable backup. You got the rookie Bo. You got Harris. I'm sorry, not Harris, Hudson. So, and then you got Josh Azudu. All guys that have been in your system. All guys that have gotten better. So you just say, I'm cutting Evan Neal because he had 4 plays that Amazon put on TV and they ignored the others? Or they ignored the other 2 games that he played in or the practices? It's a narrative. We know that he struggled. Evan Neal at tackle. That's not debatable, right? But his move to guard has been a lot better than probably they anticipated early on. He's shown better balance. Again, he gets you in the phone booth, you ain't moving, and he's staying engaged with players. He got thrown down on a play. That's going to happen, right? It's not whether he got thrown down on one play, it's how often it occurs, right? And that's not occurring often. It doesn't make your team better cutting him. That's what you have to factor in when you guys propose these. And I'm not calling it crazy, but it's fun until it becomes real.
Well, also Van Roten's 36. He ain't going to play forever. Yeah. So you've got a guy that you drafted who's not under contract next year. You hope that you have to have a big decision to decide what you're going to do with him, which means he's an improving player. What happens if John Michael Schmitz gets hurt and you want to bump Van Roten over to center? I feel pretty confident with Evan Neal having experienced players to his right and his left if you had to start him at guard. But going back to Thibodeau, here's why it's crazy. He's in his 4th year under his rookie deal. Next year, under the 5th-year option for a first-round draft pick, he's due $24 million, which in the landscape of what you're paying pass rushers is not that expensive.
Correct.
How do you know Abdul Carter is going to stay healthy? We love Brian Burns. How do you know he's going to stay healthy? What are we going to do? Be picking up the phone call in 4 weeks and seeing if Lorenzo Carter wants to come out of retirement? I mean, and I love Lorenzo as a guy. I'm just, my example is you got 3. It's a strength. When the Giants drafted Tuck and they had OC, they didn't say, hey, we should maybe think about shopping Strahan. And then when they drafted Kiwanuka, they didn't say, hey, maybe we should trade Tuck. No, the more the merrier. The more the merrier.
Yeah. In a league that passes, you want to be able to impact that aspect of the game.
Jordan Spector wants to know if, Carl, can you talk about Shane Bowen's defense? It being zone, but now playing more man. He's not a blitzer. Is it a complicated system? What do you think?
So schematically, up front, that's a lot of burden on his linemen to keep the linebackers clean. I have a problem with linebackers who have to rely on that. Obviously, schematically, they're going to have more clean looks at runners than not. But he's, from a coverage standpoint, he's a spot zone guy, he's a zone matchup guy, and he's a man-to-man guy. He's capable of blitzing, and he's going to do more of that, but it's just going to look like the natural flow of things with Micah Parsons moving around and not stationary running in.
You mean Abdul Carter?
I said Micah Parsons again, didn't I? Abdul Carter. I'm sorry, number 3 pick. That's on me. But you're going to see more of him doing what Micah Parsons does, where he's just picking a spot and rushing. That's a blitz. That's it just disguised. That's all. He's moving around. He might be blitzing the A gap or the C gap, and eventually he gets over there. He's not stable, right? So, yeah, this is what Shane Bowen will be able to do with this defense as a blitz, when he's calling blitzes. And it'll incorporate a lot of other players too, just by moving Abdul Carter around the way Dallas moved Micah Parsons around.
Yeah, and I mean, Roy Robertson Harris is going to be a big factor in this because last year they missed A'Shawn Robinson. A'Shawn was a key player for the Giants a couple of years ago, and they were really, once Dexter left the game, or sometimes it was like Dexter by himself, Roy Robertson Harris is going to help. Chauncey Golston, who they have listed as a D lineman, he's going to help. Obviously, they drafted the rookie. They want to develop him. Plus, you got the veteran Hand and Nacho. So they need to be better up front. And if they are better up front, they ain't going to have to blitz that much because they can just unleash the hounds on third downs.
That is correct.
Sal wants to know if we could talk about the tight ends. We kind of did earlier, Sal. You can go back and listen or watch. But the long and short of it is Dulcich, nice player. Don't let preseason stats cloud your judgment. He's a receiving tight end, which is what Theo Johnson is. And Fidoni's a draft pick who they see upside. I'm pretty sure Dulcich will clear waivers, and they could probably bring him back to the practice squad. It was a nice story in camp, but remember, he already has a resume in the league. And, it became a numbers game. Again, we're happy that the Giants are in a position where they actually have to get rid of good players.
Yeah.
Now,
what's
Carl,
the situation with Wilkins? Is it that bad that another team wouldn't take a chance right now? Which Wilkins is he talking about?
I am not
Ben
sure.
Michelli, what's the situation with Wilkins? Do we have a Wilkins? Forgive us, folks.
Yeah, I'm not really sure who he's talking
that might be the situation with Wilkins. That in itself that we don't know. Can you give us a first name, Ben Michelli? Wilkins.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm not really sure what he's referring to as far as Wilkins. Unless he I don't was he referring to Darius Alexander and he just messed up the name Wilkins? I don't know. That is a mystery for another show.
Yeah, Darius Alexander's on the roster. I think
Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins. He's asking.
Oh, okay.
No, he's cut from the Raiders. You saw why he got cut? There's a couple of issues going on with him.
Yeah, there's stuff going on.
He was listen. Remember in Hard Knocks, Lesh. I know a lot of Giants fans want to forget Hard Knocks, but if you remember on Hard Knocks last year when they were talking about potential defensive linemen that were on their board in the free agency list, he was one of the guys that they were considering, that they were looking at to potentially bring in. And he got like a ridiculously monster deal from Miami that was well above what the Giants were willing to pay for him. And they did a hard pass. Well, look at how this whole thing with the Raiders worked out. I mean, Pete Carroll is a no-nonsense guy, and he's not and there was some weird stuff going on in the locker room, and then he was refusing to kind of rehab, and they just said, screw that, we're taking your money away from you for conduct detrimental, and they kicked him right out the door. I don't think that this coaching staff, this general manager, this franchise coming off a 3-win season, I'm not really sure that's something that they'll even entertain.
They can't absorb that type of whatever it is. It's a troubled talent. It's a talent that comes with baggage. They're not built to absorb that. That's the thing that Philadelphia did when everyone else wanted to pass on Carter, Jalen Carter, They're like, oh, bring him here. We got enough around that in case something should go awry, he has guardrails. Nothing's gone wrong with Carter, by the way. He's a hell of a football player. But the Giants don't have those guardrail people. They're just now developing a winning and competitive mindset of accountability amongst each other. Now, you bring something in there with that kind of baggage, he puts a burden on that whole accountability structure right away. And they can't absorb that.
No, this is not the time and place for that type player.
See, again, it sounds good when people are thinking, right? And they'll post Giants. What do you think about this one? Ask yourself, what will it do to your roster? Does it make it better or does it make it worse? And you got to factor in everything. If you're going to play GM, you got to look at not just the playing aspect, but the personal aspect and where your team is also.
All right, Carl. This has been a lot of fun talking through this with the fans. I know you're at a big sales meeting for your entire team, so you're playing the role of Brian Dable with your G3 sales staff right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Are they taking notes in the meetings and stuff?
Yeah, they're taking notes, and we got a lot of professional teams are here. Green Bay Packers, Kansas City Chiefs, a lot of hockey teams. We invite all the team buyers and my sales reps, and so it's been good. It's going well.
All right. Well, you're getting some business done now. I do have to say, since I don't know when I will probably be putting up another pod next week to kind of get ready for the season, and we'll talk some quarterbacks as well. But we'll do like a quarterback podcast with Phil Sims here on Believe in Giants. But everybody go subscribe. If you're listening on however you're listening to it, make sure you like us and leave comments. Give us a rating. Go to our store, Believe store. You can get your Believe in Giants coffee mug. But I feel bad, but we're 3 days short. I wish I had a cake to drop for you because your birthday's coming up on Friday.
Yes, it is. We won't be together.
I wasn't thinking I should have had Lindsay clip it and roll. Oh! Where's the video of it falling, Lindsay? Do you have the video of it sliding right off?
Oh, my gosh. So listen, folks, we won't be together on my birthday. I'll be at Home Shopping Network on my birthday. So on the 29th, if you guys, I'm on all day, but it will be the best fan package you'll get in terms of apparel. For the price, it's going to be ridiculous. So don't miss out. If nothing else, tune in out of curiosity, and you're going to be like, wait a minute, I can get 1, 2, 3 for this. That's all I'm going to tell you, but it's worth it. Just out of curiosity, log on starting at midnight on the 28th all the way through the 29th. I'll be on Home Shopping Network for, the football fan shop. This is the one. This will be one that you'll be buying your Christmas presents for people, for the family, or for the family.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's Friday. It's the start of a holiday weekend, so I'm sure a lot of you will be off from work.
Yeah.
Tune in to Home Shopping Network. Check out Carl on his birthday as he is on. By the way, you're on all day. Do you get any breaks?
Yeah, so I go midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Then I'm off until 8 o'clock the next morning. So I'll go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then I'm off till 2, and then I'm back on till like 6. And then I close out I get about another hour, and then I close out the day.
All right. Well, good luck with the sales on Friday. Go to Home Shopping Network.
Yeah.
Starter's going to have some unbelievable deals for you. Packages that It's a one-time deal.
This is one that, again, out of curiosity, you should just log on, because this is the one where if you got a football family or you got a group of friends that you care about, you want to start getting your gifts in order. This is the day you do that, the 29th. Trust me when I tell you.
All right. Because you got all the teams, too. It's not just Giants.
Yep.
Got the whole league. All right. Yeah, we'll be back next week. We're going to do something, hopefully, with Phil Simms on quarterbacks in the league. And then next week, we'll do our preview for the Giants and Commanders, because the regular season is upon us. But it was fun doing the live one tonight.
Yeah, guys, this has been great.
Yeah, the Giants got down to their first 53, but there will be a whole bunch of changes coming up here over the next 48 hours or so. All right,
guys,
Carl.
Thanks for logging in, too. This is
great. How do we like to end it?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Believe in Giants.